It's Missy Bauer, Associate Field Agronomist for Farm Journal. Today we are out doing some scouting for western bean cutworm, seeing if we had any damage showing up in these fields where we knew we had heavy moth flights a few weeks ago. So some of the damage that we're seeing on the ears now from the western bean cutworm looks like this, where the larva will go in through the side of the husk and get into the ear and start doing some feeding damage. This ear here actually had 4 larvae that were found on it at one time, and you can see we actually have about 4 to 5 different spots here that it has been fed on. Here's an ear that's a little bit further behind, but again we can see where some of this damage is already being done. We'll take a closer look at this ear here. We're going to go ahead, when we see some of this feeding from the outside, it just looks like holes going through the husks here. We start to peel all the husks back and looking to see if we can actually find any live larvae in these. And here we got a western bean cutworm here that's been feeding on this ear. As far as his size goes, he's kind of moderate in size. He will get much larger than this by the end of his life cycle here, so he could potentially do a lot more feeding damage on this ear. Our other concern with the feeding damage is it gives an entry point for ear diseases and molds and funguses on these ears, so that's something, a secondary concern once we have this initial damage by the western bean cutworm. So we do want to keep an eye on fields and try to get a handle on how much feeding damage we are getting. Initially, from a scouting perspective, when the moths are flying, we're scouting for egg masses and looking at that 5% threshold of plants with egg masses or small larvae on them. So if you had heavy flights early, I'd recommend going back into some of those fields now and just getting a handle on what type of damage and percentage of damage that you're seeing.